Panama Canal, and we didn't give it to China. We gave it to Panama, and we're taking it back.
Nothing is impossible with money, they said. Especially when we're talking about the wealth of the richest man of the moment. The man of the hour, Elon Musk, who might be secretly cooking another project by now. This time, it will not launch into space but in Nicaragua, a canal worth $50 billion, as grand as the Panama Canal. The problem is, Elon is not the only one with massive plans. Other nations are also considering this colossal waterway vision. First, let's address the facts. There isn't a functioning Nicaragua Canal yet. While there have been several proposals over the years to build a canal across Nicaragua, most notably a project promoted by the Chinese company HK Nicaragua Canal Development Investment Company, none of these plans have come to fruition. This means building a canal in the area is actually possible, isn't it? At first glance, the project seems like a real game changer. But dig a little deeper, and you quickly realize it's facing more obstacles than an Olympic hurdle race. For starters, think about the sheer scale. They plan to carve out a 170-mile canal that even cuts through Lake Nicaragua, the largest freshwater lake in Central America. No wonder environmentalists are already raising red flags about the potential ecological damage. Then there's the cash. $50 billion might sound like chump change to someone like Elon Musk, but for Nicaragua, that's a staggering sum. And what about the locals? Many Nicaraguans are pretty skeptical, wondering if this massive project will actually benefit their country or just fatten the pockets of foreign investors. There have been protests fueled by fears of displacement and environmental harm. These concerns once put the project on the back burner, leading some to say it was dead in the water. But now, the buzz suggests it might be making a comeback. Recent headlines indicate that the Nicaraguan government is planning to revive the canal project in 2025. After years of uncertainty, this long-discussed competitor to the Panama Canal is back on the table. The big question remains, will it actually work this time? Even though the idea of a new canal sounds thrilling, there's still that nagging question of demand. The Panama Canal has been there for years, successful and completely operational. The possibility of an alternative canal for global shippers might still be a blur for now. But as we said, a waterway in Nicaragua has always been thought of. For over 100 years, the Panama Canal has been the go-to shortcut between the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans, sparing ships the long, arduous detour around Cape Horn. But lately, things aren't looking so rosy for Panama. With challenges like climate-driven water shortages, capacity issues, and a bit of geopolitical tension, a new player has entered the scene, the Nicaraguan Canal. So, what's the story here? Nicaragua, Panama's neighbor to the north, has its sights set on a pretty ambitious prize, stepping up as a major force in global maritime trade. In other words, they are aiming for nothing less than global maritime supremacy. But is this bold project really capable of taking on the challenge? Or is it just a high-flying dream backed by big promises and even bigger dollars? Let's rewind a bit for some background. The Nicaragua Canal isn't just some pie-in-the-sky idea. It's a concrete plan to build a brand new maritime shortcut between the Atlantic and Pacific, much like the one in Panama. The goal? To offer an alternative route for global shipping that could cut transit times and lower costs. Now, here's the kicker. The estimated cost is a staggering $50 billion. To put that into perspective, that's about 3 times the GDP of Nicaragua. Yep, you read that right. You might be wondering, why build another canal when we've already got a perfectly functioning one in Panama? The answer is pretty straightforward: opportunity and competition. Let's be honest, the Panama Canal isn't exactly in its prime. Climate change is complicating things with water shortages that threaten its ability to keep up with the ever-growing global shipping demands. Add congestion and capacity problems into the mix, and you have a canal that's starting to show its age. Enter Nicaragua with its daring plan. Build a bigger, better canal that can accommodate larger ships, reduce transit times, and serve as a serious alternative route for global trade. In theory, this would not only ease the pressure on the Panama Canal, but also shake up the market by introducing some healthy competition. But it's not all about the dollars and cents. There's a major geopolitical angle, too. If you thought this was just a local spat between 2 Central American countries, think again. The Nicaraguan Canal has grabbed the attention of none other than China, a global superpower with a knack for bold infrastructure projects and a clear appetite for strategic influence. China's backing, both financially and politically, could give them a serious edge, positioning the canal as a direct competitor to the U.S.-influenced Panama Canal. And for Washington, the idea of China gaining a foothold over a major trade route right in Central America is pretty unsettling. It could really tip the scales in global shipping and expand Beijing's influence in an area that's long been considered America's backyard. And let's be honest, the U.S.-China rivalry doesn't need any extra drama. So what do you think? Is Nicaragua's canal project the game-changer it's hyped up to be, or is it just an overambitious pipe dream? The competition between the Panama Canal and a possible Nicaraguan version isn't exactly new drama. In fact, the idea of an interoceanic canal running through Nicaragua has been around since the 1800s. But Panama beat them to it with its U.S.-built wonder, leaving Nicaragua's canal dreams on hold. Until now. Sure, Trump's tweets might have kick-started the current buzz, but global politics isn't usually about one man's social media rant. It's really about heavyweight factors like China's Belt and Road Initiative, U.S.-China tensions, and Central America's push to profit from its strategic location. The Panama Canal has been doing its thing since 1914, serving as a favorite shortcut for global trade by moving over 1 billion tons of goods each year and sparing ships from the clumsy detour around Cape Horn. Lately, though, this marvel has run into some rough waters, thanks not only to rising sea levels but a host of other challenges. Once hailed as a symbol of international teamwork and clever engineering, the canal is now starring in a geopolitical soap opera with China, the United States, and Central America all playing their parts, alongside plenty of diplomatic blame games. On January 30th, U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio confidently claimed that China has a backup plan to shut down the Panama Canal if a conflict with the U.S. ever erupts. He made these comments on *The Megyn Kelly Show*, channeling a bit of Nostradamus as he warned about Beijing's growing influence over this key waterway. According to Rubio, Washington is gearing up to tackle what it sees as a major national security threat. And just to add a bit of drama, his remarks came right before his first trip to Central America as the top U.S. diplomat. Coincidence? We don't think so. He certainly knows how to make an entrance. Meanwhile, in his January 20th inauguration speech, Donald Trump accused Panama of breaking promises regarding the canal's final transfer back in 1999. He even went as far as to claim that Panama had basically handed control of the canal over to China, vowing that the U.S. would take back the canal, though he left out all the details about when or how that would happen. The old versus the new. To set the record straight, let's imagine the Nicaragua Canal is complete and all up and running. When you think about major shipping routes, the Panama Canal often comes to mind as the granddaddy of global trade shortcuts. Opened in 1914, this canal transformed maritime commerce by slashing travel times between the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans. It's a marvel of engineering with its famous lock system, turning a narrow strip of land into a bustling waterway that ships have relied on for over a century. The Panama Canal isn't just a functional passageway. It's a symbol of human ingenuity, persistence, and the occasional geopolitical drama that comes with big, transformative projects. Now, toss the idea of a Nicaraguan canal into the mix, and you get a fascinating what-if scenario. Unlike the well-established Panama Canal, the Nicaraguan project has never quite moved past the brainstorming and proposal phase. Back in the early 2010s, a Chinese-backed company made headlines by pitching a canal that could rival Panama's, promising a new trade route that could cut even shorter paths between the oceans. The concept grabbed the imagination of many. Imagine a new, giant waterway emerging in Central America, ready to reshape global shipping patterns. But as intriguing as it sounds, the plan has been mired in controversy, logistical nightmares, and environmental concerns. Geographically, the two potential canals are a far cry from each other. The Panama Canal cuts through a relatively narrow isthmus with a controlled environment that, while challenging, was surmountable with early 20th century engineering. In contrast, the Nicaraguan proposal would have to contend with a broader and more varied landscape, including the massive Lake Nicaragua. Building a canal there isn't just a matter of digging a new route. It would involve managing water resources on a scale that could affect entire ecosystems, local communities, and even the climate in the surrounding areas. Engineering-wise, Panama set the bar high with its system of locks that lift ships up to an artificial lake and then lower them back down on the other side. This design was groundbreaking at the time and has been tweaked over the years to accommodate larger vessels. A hypothetical canal in Nicaragua would likely need a similar, if not more complex, lock system to deal with the dramatic differences in elevation and the vast amounts of water involved. However, modern challenges mean that today's engineers have to factor in even stricter environmental regulations and community concerns, making the project not just an engineering challenge but also a delicate balancing act between progress and preservation. Economically and politically, the two canals couldn't be more different. The Panama Canal is a tried-and-true asset for global shipping and a key part of Panama's national identity and revenue stream. Its success has been built over decades of investment, international cooperation, and even periods of intense conflict and negotiation. The Nicaraguan Canal, on the other hand, remains largely in the realm of speculation and ambition. With heavy investments proposed by foreign companies and a host of local and international critics, it's seen as a high-risk endeavor. While it could theoretically bring in massive revenue and shift regional power dynamics, the political and economic uncertainties have kept it from moving forward. Then there's the environmental factor. The Panama Canal, for all its size, has had to contend with environmental issues, from managing water levels to ensuring the health of local ecosystems. Still, it's generally viewed as a controlled impact within a well-understood framework. The Nicaraguan plan, however, raises red flags on many environmental fronts. Dredging vast areas, altering water flows, and potentially disrupting diverse habitats are just a few of the concerns that have critics worried. In today's world, where sustainability is key, any project that could lead to significant ecological upheaval faces an uphill battle in securing both public and governmental support. At the end of the day, comparing the Panama Canal to a hypothetical Nicaraguan canal is like looking at a finished masterpiece versus a sketch full of potential but riddled with uncertainties. The Panama Canal stands as a historical success story, a testament to what determined engineering and international collaboration can achieve. Meanwhile, the Nicaraguan Canal remains an enticing what might have been a project that sparks lively debates about economic opportunity, environmental stewardship, and political will. Whether the latter will ever move beyond the drawing board is still up in the air. But for now, it serves as a reminder of both the bold ambitions and the hefty challenges that come with reshaping our world's infrastructure. Plans on Nicaragua Canal. What used to be dismissed as just a wild waterway fantasy is suddenly making headlines again. And why? Well, it turns out that a mix of Donald Trump, China, and a bit of geopolitical one-upmanship is stirring the pot. In classic Trump style, the U.S. president recently suggested taking back the Panama Canal from China. While some shrugged it off as another bold claim, the remark sent shockwaves throughout Central America. Nicaragua, led by its ever-controversial Daniel Ortega, saw a chance to make its own splash. If the Panama Canal was about to turn into a tug-of-war between Washington and Beijing, why not toss Nicaragua into the mix? That's exactly what happened. Ortega's government quickly got busy, tweaking the constitution to let them hand out concessions for an interoceanic canal. No endless red tape, just a fast track to big ambitions. Suddenly, the long-forgotten Nicaragua Canal project was back on the table, and everyone started paying attention. China, on its part, has eyed Nicaragua's canal potential for years. There was even a time when a Chinese businessman secured a concession to build it. But like many grand plans, that deal fizzled out when Ortega canceled it in May 2024. Leaving people to wonder if the canal was ever more than just a topic for cocktail party chatter. Now, with Trump's Panama Canal comments shaking things up, Beijing might be ready to rekindle its interest in Nicaragua's watery ambitions. After all, if Washington is flexing its muscles in Panama, wouldn't China be itching to counter with its own flashy canal project just a few hundred miles away? Inside Elon Musk's genius head, Elon Musk, the billionaire entrepreneur and notorious internet provocateur, has once again dived into the messy world of geopolitics, this time with the Panama Canal saga. The guy behind Tesla, SpaceX, and that infamous Twitter rebrand has chimed in on the drama. And as usual, it's not just about what he thinks but why he's even bothered. At AmericaFest in Arizona, Trump went off on a tangent, accusing Panama of overcharging for canal usage and hinting at possible Chinese influence in the region. Has anyone ever heard of the Panama Canal? He quipped, as if it was some underground indie band. He then ramped things up with a Truth Social post showing an American flag photoshopped over a waterway, captioned "Welcome to the United States Canal." Needless to say, subtlety was not in the mix. Trump didn't stop there. He also claimed that Panama had broken the moral and legal principles of the 1977 treaties that returned control of the canal to Panama, sparking an international uproar. Amid all the commotion, a cryptic tweet from Elon Musk quickly stole the spotlight. Shortly after Trump's explosive remarks made headlines, Musk hopped onto X, formerly Twitter, and casually tweeted, "2025 is gonna be so lit." No explanation, no follow-up, just a digital MIC drop. Was he echoing Trump's hot takes, hinting that SpaceX cargo ships might someday bypass canals altogether, or simply trolling for the fun of it? As the head of Tesla, SpaceX, Neuralink, and a bunch of other ventures, Musk knows all too well how fragile global supply chains are. A hiccup in the Panama Canal could ripple across industries, from automotive to tech, and potentially mess with Tesla's production or even SpaceX's fuel supplies. So, it makes sense that he's keeping a close eye on the situation. But here's the kicker. Rumors are swirling that Musk might be considering an investment in this drama. Is he leaning toward Panama, siding with Nicaragua, or cooking up something completely unexpected? Only time will tell. Now, let's talk about Musk's bold vision. The enigmatic billionaire who's revolutionized everything from electric cars to space travel hasn't really stepped into maritime waters yet. There's no official word on him overhauling global shipping or revamping famous waterways like the Panama Canal, or its lesser-known cousin, the Nicaraguan Canal. But knowing him, it's fun to imagine what he might do. After all, this is the guy who turned flamethrowers into quirky party favors and made reusable rockets a reality. Why not give shipping a futuristic makeover too? Musk's ventures, like Tesla and SpaceX, are already shaking up transportation and sustainability. Tesla made electric cars cool and fast, while SpaceX's Starlink is keeping ships connected even in the middle of nowhere. So, even though Musk hasn't officially charted a course into maritime logistics, his track record leaves us thinking, why not? Shipping is a behemoth of an industry, moving about 90% of global trade, but it's also a major polluter. Cargo ships burn heavy fuel oil, pumping out more coal than some countries, and when you throw in issues like port congestion and outdated logistics, it's clear this industry is begging for a shakeup. With Musk's trademark boldness, a transformation might just be on the horizon. As Musk once said, some people don't like change, but you need to embrace change if the alternative is disaster. And if shipping doesn't clean up its act, disaster might be exactly what we get. So, what could Musk do if he decided to take on something as iconic as the Panama or Nicaraguan Canal? Only time will tell, but one thing's for sure, it'd be one heck of a game changer. Speaking of game changer, that has always been the Elon brand, to change the game. The Musk technology. First up, Musk would probably start by slashing shipping's massive carbon footprint. Forget those diesel-powered cargo ships puffing out black smoke like they're trying to outdo a chimney. Imagine fleets of zero-emission vessels running on green hydrogen or cutting-edge electric power. These futuristic ships could plug into renewable energy hubs at ports, like solar farms, wind turbines, or even floating power stations. And knowing Musk, these ships wouldn't just be efficient, they'd be insanely cool. Picture sleek, SCFI-worthy vessels cruising the ocean, possibly even featuring Tesla's autopilot tech. Speaking of autopilot, imagine self-navigating ships that use Tesla's expertise in AI and real-time data to adjust their routes on the fly. Instead of sticking to a fixed path, these ships could dodge port congestion, steer clear of storms, and maybe even avoid pirate hotspots, though laser cannons might be a bit much. These AI-driven vessels would optimize fuel use, cut down on human error, and make shipping both safer and more efficient. And let's be honest, the idea of a ship helmed by an algorithm called Captain Neural Net has a quirky appeal. Then there's the communication side of things. Maritime shipping is often hampered by patchy internet, which can slow everything down. That's where Starlink comes in. With Starlink-enabled ships, real-time global communication would be the norm. Accurate tracking, precise ETAs, and seamless customer updates.